Hey guys, what's up? Today we are building a very interesting project. Now this video is going to be a part of the 44 or 45 Golang project series. So depending on when you're watching this video, there will be like 50 or 60 videos in that playlist. So just make sure you know about that playlist. You go to my channel, you check out the playlist section and check out that 45, 50, 60, whatever the name is, depending on when you're seeing this project playlist series. So a lot of Golang videos have been covered there, a lot of Golang projects. So we built a lot of stuff. Now today we're going to be using GraphQL. Now GraphQL is something that I've not shown you how to work with Golang, and MongoDB is something that I've shown you already how Golang works with MongoDB. So Go, MongoDB, and GraphQL. So we'll combine all these three things together in today's CRUD. But mostly the focus is going to be on GraphQL because obviously that's not been covered yet. Now, by no means is this a basic GraphQL tutorial. Okay, you already need to know what GraphQL is and how it works, like all of it. Today's focus is about Golang and GraphQL, right? It's not GraphQL. I hope that's clear. So there are hundreds of videos on GraphQL on the basics of GraphQL on YouTube, and you can watch any of them. You can read the GraphQL documentation, which is the most preferred way to learn GraphQL. And once you know all of that, once you know what a query is and mutations and resolvers, all of that, then it's the right time to watch this video. Okay. Now my project is running on port 8080, and with GraphQL you get this graphical interface where you can interact with your API or whatever you want to call it, like GraphQL route, whatever you want to call it, right? So here I'm going to show you a couple of queries. So if now mind you, all of this is coming from MongoDB because MongoDB is connected to my project. So if I run this, I get the list of all the jobs that I have. So we're creating basically a job board. It's a complete CRUD, right? Create, read, update, delete, all of that. And it's a complete job board. So we'll get all of them. And then let's say if you want to create, a job, I'll send this here, and in the variables, I'll send the actual values that I want to get added in the database. Alright, so I'm using a mutation to create a job listing, and I'll increase the size of this whole thing. Yeah, so I think now you can see it much better. So I execute this query and I can add a job there, and now I can also update it. So I'll copy the ID that I get from here, and then I'm going to run the next, which is the update. So I'll come here, and here in the update I'll send something else, the variables. So I want the job from software development engineering 1 to engineer 3, and I will copy and paste that ID. Now I'll run it, and here you can see the title has been changed, so it's the update. Okay, now similarly we will have the delete query, and for delete we're just passing the ID, that's it. Now the ID I have to replace with the ID of this particular record, and run this and delete that job listing. All right. Now there will be, I think there's one more query, there's one more mutation for getting a particular, I think it's a query, one more query for getting a particular record with the help of ID. So that's, I think, one thing that I don't have here, but yeah, but we'll be building that in code. So just to let you know guys, I have put this project already on my GitHub. Okay, it's already there on my GitHub, and the instructions to start this project off along with me. So I'll show you all of this right now, but in case you don't get any of these steps, they're all mentioned in the README file of the project. So don't panic, everything is here, everything is in GitHub. And also a big thanks to my intern. So I have an intern now, his name is Nikhil, and so a big thanks to him because earlier, as you know, I used to build the projects with you, in the sense I didn't have like the projects pre-built. I would like build it with you from scratch, and many people they don't like that approach, because especially the junior developers, they don't like that approach, because then you see me writing a lot of you see me making a lot of mistakes, and I fix them all at the end. But then junior developers, they get like very, very nervous when they see any mistakes or any typos basically. All right. But now what I do is I build the projects beforehand and I put them on GitHub, and then I show you in the videos, right? So which takes me more time, and I don't have that time because I have to run like 2 companies. Okay, so this is why I have Nikhil, who's my intern, and he is now helping me to find all of this stuff, like build the project properly and then put it on GitHub, and then I make the videos. Alright, so let's get started now. So we'll start with building the project. So now hopefully you can see my terminal, and what I'll do now is I'll say mkdir and gql yt. Okay, so GraphQL, and yt is for YouTube because I'm building this video for you guys, and we'll cd into it, and we'll go mod in it. So I'm giving it this name. You can feel free to give it any other name that you want. And I'll just check if your go.mod was created. Once you have that, right, you want to run this command. It's, by the way, this is there in the README file of on GitHub. I'm Akhil Sharma 90 on GitHub. In case you're not able to find me on GitHub, Akhil Sharma 90, and you'll find almost all of the projects that we've done on this channel there. All right, and then we'll add GraphQL generator to our tools.co. Okay, so the command that we ran just before this, the go get, in case you're not aware about go get, it's basically to get a package to add to your go mod file, and this is the package we need. We need GraphQL generation, and we'll see in a while. So with Golang, right, and with the help of this package GraphQL generator, you don't have to do a lot of hard work or heavy lifting on your own, right? So a lot of stuff is handled by this. So we'll say go mod tidy. Okay, and now we got an init. So it's first, just check if you have tools.go file, and if you have that, then it's perfect. And this is what the tools.go file should have, right? This is the data it should have. This is what it created, this command. And now we'll run the init command, right? So we're going to use our GraphQL generator, and we're going to run an init command. So we'll say init. Now when you run init, right, a lot of things happen. So let me show it to you. So when you open this up in your code editor, in my case I'm using VS Code, you could be using anything else, doesn't matter. My VS Code, you will see that it's created server.go file for us. It's created a complete folder called graph. It's created this GraphQL gen.yml for us. It's created a complete graph folder, right? This is the most important thing here. In the graph folder, you have resolvers, schema, and resolver.go file. Then you have your models generator, and you have your generated.go. Okay, so all of these files which are generated by GraphQL generator, says code generated by, right? These ones you don't touch. But the one that we will touch is this one, right? The one where we change the schema. Based on schema, we'll get our resolvers and everything. So what we can do is we can get rid of all of this from here, save this file, get rid of all of this here, right? So it's given you like a to-do project. So in case you don't want to build your own project, it's just you're happy with the new to-do CRUD, that's great enough. You can just stay there. And then you have your generated. So you say, you remove everything else and say package generated, that's it. So I've removed everything apart from my schema file. And schema is what I wish to change right now. And when I change it, I'll run my GraphQL generate command, and that will help me to basically generate all of these files. Okay. Now in my so here at the root, right, I want to also create a folder called database, right? Because we are not creating just a CRUD for GraphQL, right? That's too simple. We have to also connect it to a database so that you guys know how to use it in the real world. Database.go. Okay. And here we'll have some code for our. So right now I'll just write package database. That's it. let's leave it here. And yeah, so it's telling me to run go mod tidy. Sometimes there's just a delay sometimes here or there. So I'll just run go mod tidy again, right? And now everything is fine. Sometimes there's just a delay. Okay. So here obviously you're referring to new executable schema and all of these functions which are supposed to be there in the graph generated file, and it's not there, so that's why this file is red now. So now you get this complete schema, right, what to do, and we don't want that. We want our job board, we want a job board to be here. So what you can do is you can get rid of all of this. Get rid of all of this, and here we'll start writing our schema. Now schema is like your foundation, right? This is the milestone 0. This is where you start. This is the origination. This is the patient 0, whatever you want to call it. This is basically at the heart of the project. Okay, so you create a job listing. Okay, in my case, job listing will have all of these. So if you've created like a schema for database, it's very similar to that. Very similar. And here ID is going to be equal to ID. When I put an exclamation mark like this, I'm saying that this is a non-null value. It can't be null. Okay, and everything else is quite straightforward. I'm going to have title, which is going to be string, description, which is going to be string again, non-null. Okay, company going to be string again, and URL is also going to be string. Okay, so that's your job listing. Now you have type query. Here you'll have jobs, job listing, right? So this is an array of job listings basically, and then you have job ID and job listing. Okay, so we'll have two types, right? One is jobs, which I showed you, right? And like we can query jobs, or you can query a single job. So if you're querying a single job, you get a job listing from it. You have to provide an ID, which is get by, like in the equivalent of REST APIs, it will be like get job by ID, and this is like get all jobs. Okay, so this will return a collection of job listings, whereas this will return just one single job listing. So that's your query. Now along with queries you have mutations, and that's how you perform your create, update and delete functions. So we'll have that. So we have 2 queries and 3 mutations. So let's go ahead and create our mutations. So we'll have type mutation. So one is create job listing, then you have update job listing, and then you have delete job listing. Here you'll have input and create job listing input. Okay. So I know we have to do a lot of hard work in the schema.graphqls file, but once we have done that, right, everything else will get generated for us. So that's brilliant. So that's why it doesn't take a lot of time to build projects with this particular setup. Right, with GraphQL and Golang, it's really simple. But the only issue is, even though GraphQL is an amazing tool, it's not widely accepted right now still in the industry. So if you work with teams like cross-functional teams or legacy teams and people who have already built their APIs and you want to integrate with them, or somebody wants to consume your APIs, it's still like too early for GraphQL. I mean, they still expect REST APIs. Some of them, like like really legacy guys like banks, they expect SOAP APIs, but or sometimes gRPC, which is gRPC is fairly all right. But nobody is expecting a GraphQL API from you. So it's still quite early for it. But for your internal projects, like let's say if your internal team is building a React Native app or React JS app, and they want to consume your APIs, that's perfectly fine. Then you can use GraphQL because it's much lighter, and you have much more control. All right, so this was our create job listing. These three types of mutations we will support. Now we want to define these, like create job listing input, update job listing input, and delete response. These three things are what we will define. Okay, so let's do that. So first is input, create job listing input. Okay, what does it look like? Then I have an input for update job listing input. What does that look like? And then I'll have my delete job response. So for create job listing input, it's going to have title, basically the same things as here. Like it's basically what are you going to send to the mutation? What's the kind of input that you'll send? You obviously won't send the ID because ID is generated by the database. So you'll be sending the title and description and company, all of those other things, right? So string, then you have description, you have string, you have company, which is a string, and you have URL, so again a string. Okay, update job listing input, title, string, description, string, and URL, string. Right, so when you're updating a job, you'll send the title, description, and URL, but you're also obviously sending the ID, right? So always if it's to do with things like deleting and updating, you'll have to send the ID because you're updating or deleting a particular record from the database. And here you'll have delete job ID. The job ID to be deleted will be string, can't be empty. Okay, so here it's I have not put the exclamation mark here because sometimes you just want to change the title and not the other things. That's why I've kept this kind of flexibility here. I can have another layer of validations, but since this project we're not like I don't want to extend the project too much. I want this to be covered in like one video, so I won't go down that route. I won't be writing any tests or validations for this project. Let's keep it simple. Let's focus on GraphQL and then getting to work with MongoDB, right? So we're done with all of this. Now we should run our generate command to generate all of the other files for us, and then we have to use our resolvers to send the control to the database, and then database is where we'll handle all the functions which interact or communicate with the database. So back in the terminal, the command that you want to run is this. It's go run, and then the path for the GQL gen library, and then generate. So in the beginning we ran the init command, which created the entire project for us for to do. Now this is generate, and based on your schema it'll generate all those files for you. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, so now you get an error, failed to load schema, blah 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 blah. Okay, just remember this, expected colon found comma. Okay, so we'll go back to our code, and here I can see that here it should have been a colon, but it's actually a comma, right? And I'll just clean up everywhere also, so you don't need these commas. Okay, and I'll just put a space here also. Save. Now let's run this again, see what happens. Yeah, so everything is fine now, and now it created all these files for us. So when you go to schema.resolvers.go, you see all of this has been generated. Okay, schema.resolvers.go. Then you go to models generator, generated.go. So these are the models generated for you. Then you go to generated.go, and the entire file has been generated for you. So you don't have to write any of this. Okay, you don't have to write any of this. So that's brilliant. Okay, so we just wrote the schema.graphql.js GraphQLs file, and we ran the generate command, and we got everything that we wanted. Now what I want to do is inside all of these resolvers, right, I just want to first import my database package. So what I'll say is, I'll say github.com/akhil/gqlyt and /database. So I want to get the database package first, which is from here, and I want to create an instance of the database. So I'll say var db is equal to database.connect. So obviously we'll have a connect function, a database file soon, but for now let's just see this. Then I'm saying that for all of these, right, all of these functions, by the way, at this point of time you could start your server, like go run server.go, and you can play around if you want, but I'm not going to do that because these functions, they don't have anything in them, so none of the functions will work anyways. So it's better that we just complete this thing and then we run, because I sometimes get comments on YouTube that, hey, why don't you like keep running the project after every few lines of code that you write and show us the output? Because it's not a meaningful output, that's why. I don't like, what should I show you here? It's just going to get some errors, right? So instead we'll say return db.create job listing and then input comma nil, and here you'll get for update you remove this and you say return db.update job listing id comma input comma nil. Also, the earlier videos, like I started I think about almost like a year back now with these Golang tutorials and on YouTube generally. The earlier videos, there wasn't much explaining. I used to, show you how to build stuff but not explain much, and I've changed that now. I've changed the format now. I explain a lot more, so I hope like this is working out for you guys. In case you want any changes, let me know. I mean, I'm not an instructor, so you have to understand that I was never an instructor. I'm just a developer, and I would just show you how to build stuff earlier, but now I've tried to also explain stuff and understand things from the perspective of the viewer. Try to make those changes so that you can understand more, but in case you think I should change anything else, let me know. So I'm always reading those comments and always like optimizing based on that. Right, so all you're doing here is inside all of these resolvers. Resolvers are basically functions that will be called when we hit those queries or mutations. When you hit those mutations, then I'm calling the database.create job listing function. Here I'm calling the update. I'm calling the delete job function. And here for the query, this is the query resolver. And these are the mutation resolvers. Query resolvers, you're going to get the job with that particular ID. Okay. Now, because we are getting that particular ID, firstly, actually it shouldn't be in the jobs, like the multiple jobs, it shouldn't be there. It should be in the job. Okay, so you copy and paste this here instead, because here you have access to ID. So great. I mean, we saw that there was a red underline there. For jobs, you just need to get all of the jobs. So you just say return db dot get jobs nil. Okay, so here you have all of that, and then I think there's nothing else that you need to change here. Only issue is the connect function, which we don't have yet. So we can go to database.go file and actually create that function. So we'll say var connection string. Now the connection string that I'm going to place here is going to be for my MongoDB database, which is on the cloud, and you could put in the connection string for your localhost as well. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to put something here which I got from the cloud, right? But you can put like localhost here, okay, localhost 27017, whatever, depending on where you have your MongoDB setup. I'm going to create the DB, which is of type struct. I'm going to have a Mongo client. And now I'll have the connect function, which the resolver is looking for. If I try to save this, it'll get MongoDB for me, and if I run go MongoDB, all of these lines, the red lines will go away. So let's create the connect function. Put star DB here. Then you have Mongo.new client. It's a Mongo, which is this. The external package gives you functions like creating a new client. And obviously, if you've been following my channel for a while, you're already comfortable with working with MongoDB. Apply URI, and here you'll pass the connection string that we just created. So just say connection string. Okay. You don't even have to create this connection string variable. You can just like hard code this here. I've created this here because in some cases you might want to not have even the link hard coded here, and you might want to create a .env file and import all of that from here. So that's why I just created a variable here and place that here. But like feel free to change around the code based on whether you're building it for production or you're building it for just on your local machine or system or whatever. Okay. So once I save it, it also gets me Mongo options, which I'm using it basically to create the new client. After this, I want to handle the error. So I'll say if error is not equal to nil, log dot fatal error. Then I'm going to use timeout. So I'll say context dot with timeout context dot background comma past 30 seconds. So that means I'm also using the time package here. So once I save it, it'll get the time package for me and also get the log and context package for me, because log and context packages for me. I'm going to say defer cancel error is equal to client dot connect ctx, and if error is not equal to nil, log dot fatal error. And then we'll say error to client dot ping ctx comma ref dot primary, and if again error is not equal to nil, log dot fatal error. Why is it showing me function? I have no idea what's happening here. Okay. And that should, oh yeah, so I have not captured this. So it should have been basically in CTX and cancel. CTX comma cancel. Right. Now it all should make sense ideally. Okay. So I'm getting a lot of issues with the packages. So I'll run go mod tidy now. Now is the perfect time to run go mod tidy. And still it shows you some errors. So where are these errors? Client dot ping. Still have 4 issues. Yeah, I think I know what's happening here. It's because I'm supposed to return db, capital DB, and I'm not doing that. So I'll come here and let's say return db and return the client. Alright, still there are 3 issues left. Let me check. Okay, so apply URL is not a function, it's apply URI. Yeah, now everything looks alright to me. Yeah, so it's waiting for all of these functions. So let me just comment these out for now because these functions don't exist. Okay. And why do I still have all these issues? Yeah, I think because these functions need to return something. Yeah, so we're in the catch-22, guys. So if I remove the return the comments, then I'll get errors here because these functions don't exist. And if I put these comments, the function doesn't return anything which it's supposed to return. So I am getting errors here. All right. So we'll actually comment it all out again, like uncommented basically, and then actually create these functions here in the database.co. I just wanted to test this, but I think we can just delay that for a while and we'll just create a couple of functions and then let's test it all together. All right, so here what we'll do is we'll create the rest of the functions. So as you can see, we need a create job listing function, update job listing, delete job listing, get jobs, and get job singular. So we need all these functions, and I will at least start creating the outline of these functions. Okay. So firstly, it's func, and this is a method basically, and you'll have get job id string returns model dot job listing. When you say model dot job listing, you have access to models. So if I save this, it should get me model. Okay, so make sure you get that, which is in your models. And this function will have some definition, and eventually what you want to return from this function is a singular job listing. Okay, wherein this job listing is a variable of type model.jobListing. Okay, so I have the outline of this function ready. There's no interaction with database yet, just the outline for the function. Similarly, I'll have a method that interacts with my database to get the list of all the jobs, like a complete collection of the jobs, and it's going to return. So here it was singular, here it's just a collection, so it's a slice. So we'll say model dot job listing. Here I have a variable called job listings plural, which is a collection of model dot job listing, and this is the thing that gets returned. So we'll say return job listings, get jobs. Now we have create, update, and delete to create, like you have to create those functions. Again, it's going to be called create job listing, and it returns model dot job listing, and here it takes in job info model dot create job listing input. Okay, and inside here you will return a job listing and the job listing will actually be equal to what gets created from the database. So right now we don't have that. So even though we were able to fix all the errors for these two functions and just keep it like at a very basic outline level, here even if you want to keep a basic outline with this variable, is not possible because this variable actually comes from the database after we create the record for the job listing using job info parameter. Anyhow, for now I'll also set up the update job listing function. Here make sure the C is capital, and you just check here if the C is yes. So C is capital here, update job listing, everything is capital. So I'm just matching all of that. So now update job listing. For update job listing, you're going to have two things, right? First is the job ID, then similar to the previous function, job info, which will be model dot update job listing input, and it returns a model.job listing. Okay, so let me open it up for a while. I'll just keep it like this in case you didn't catch this. I'll repeat again. Update job listing takes in job ID because you're updating a particular record, and you need the info of the new of the changes that you want to make, just like we sent job info here, same the same thing here, but along with update job listing input, and you're sending model dot job list. Now here you will have again, you're basically returning the same thing, so returning a job listing, which is basically a variable model dot job list. Okay. I think I should just for the time being, I'll just make this like just to get rid of the red line. I'll just put this here, return job listing. Okay, so everything is consistent now. So we're done with update till update. Now we have to work with delete job listing. So I'll say function delete job listing job ID string. So when you're deleting something, you just need to send the job ID and you return the deleted record. So it says delete job response, and what you want to return model.delete job response with the deleted job ID, the job ID that you pass here. Okay, I'm getting some messages, that's why I keep looking there. anyhow, so you have your database.go function, delete job listing. Okay, delete job listing. So here I will make this capital D, and now I think I don't have any issues in my code. Now I can go ahead and I can let me make everything else small. Okay. I can go ahead and I can say go run server.go. See what happens. So this means that the code is working perfectly fine till now. It gets connected to localhost 8080. Don't have any issues till now. So I will start creating these actual functions here in the database.go, which is, for example, the get job function. So let's get the get job function together. For get job, what I will do is I'll say job collection, db.client.database. This is the name of the database, GraphQL job board dot collection jobs. Okay. And here we'll say context dot with timeout, and context dot background, seconds. I don't know why this keeps covering my code. Time-lapse second. And here he'll say CTX, cancel. Okay. And we'll say cancel. Now for that particular ID, we'll use the primitive dot object ID from hex method and send the ID there. And then we're going to say filter m, and based on the ID, so this is like, you know, for MongoDB, based on the ID, we want to fetch that particular record. So here we'll define this variable, and then we'll say job collection, which is our collection, and we want to basically run, we want to pass some values, including our context and including our filter. We want to send both of those, and we are using the find one method from MongoDB. Catch this in a variable called error, and just handle the error. So if error is not equal to nil, log dot fatal error, and then finally return the job listing. Okay. So I wanted primitive, bson primitive, which is part of the Mongo driver. I have options and read ref, and I need obviously the so if I already have bson, I actually need Mongo driver bson. So I need Mongo driver bson, which is, I'll have to get it manually, maybe, I don't know. Mongo driver slash bson is what I need. Okay. So I have context, cancel. All right. Okay, so here actually I figured out it should miss the colon here. That's why it wasn't capturing CDX and cancel. And now everything works perfectly fine. So we have the get job function. So in case now I get this. Sometimes people say that, oh, I have not explained it enough. I was focusing more on typing rather than explaining it. Yeah, because the projects that I build and show you are way more complex than what you normally see on YouTube, right? For free, nobody's building these kind of projects. They usually put them in their Udemy courses, and I show you everything for free on YouTube. And sometimes because the projects are so complex, I forget, or I'm focusing more on building it and fixing errors that I'm having rather than spending the time explaining to you. But yeah, I get it. I mean, so I'll explain this to you so that you know, at least you can't complain then that I didn't explain it. But I'm also assuming that you already know, you've already seen all the previous videos, right? You've seen how MongoDB works, how that works. But anyhow, so first we'll get our job collection, which we get with the help of client, and this is the database name. This is the collection name is going to be jobs. Okay, so we'll have that in our job collection variable. whenever you work with databases, you have some kind of a timeout. You don't want your process to get blocked and keep waiting for the process to finish. So whenever you work with databases, have context, right? And then you get your ID from hex using that ID. Then you have a filter, right? Filter for ID, because we want to filter out based on the ID of particular record, and we want to basically pass this filter here in the find one function. Now the find one function is a MongoDB function. In this case, it takes in context and filter, both of these things, right? And because we want to query our database and a particular collection, that's why we've said job collection dot find one. Then you decode. So decode is very similar to serialization, deserialization, something like that. Okay, so when you decode, you get the JSON data based on the job listing. A job listing is your variable which is of type job listing. Job listing being the struct that we have defined on our own, right? So for Golang to understand JSON or to work with JSON, we wanted to get into a struct. And then because whenever we call databases, database functions, we might encounter errors, and we want to handle those errors, right? It's completely optional, but I always do this, always handle those errors. Then finally you just return the job listing. So really straightforward, and this is what we wanted to return, just one singular job listing. Okay. Now get jobs. Get jobs is also going to be similar, it's just a collection instead of one thing. So I'll say job collection, same thing, right? So I want the same thing, so I will I'll copy and paste it here. In case you're new to Golang, don't copy and paste stuff if you're new to Golang. Okay, get used to the syntax. All right, so like in the sense, type everything out when you look at this code. Type along with me, like code along with me, rather than copying and pasting. Now similarly, I also want the second line and the third line, so I'll copy and paste that as well. Okay, and now I have this variable, and I want to say job collection dot find. Instead of find one, we are using the find method, passing context and json.d. Now we'll use a cursor variable here, and like I said, whenever you call a database function, you want to handle the error log.fatal error, and then you're going to say, here you want to say if error is equal to cursor.all context.todo, comma, ampersand job listings. So just what we did here, right? For find one, we decoded because this time it's a collection. We used cursor.all and context.todo, and then we passed job listings, which is actually a collection of multiple job listings. If there's a problem, we'll panic, and otherwise we'll just return the job listings, plural. Okay, this is our get jobs function. Now we are left with three functions: create, update, and delete. So let's work on our create job listing function. Okay, so here I will create a variable job collection. Yeah, the same thing actually. So let's just copy and paste these three lines, right? And it's just to save time. But if you're new to Golang, like I said, if you're not used to the syntax, please don't copy and paste. Please type everything on your own, so that you kind of get used to it. All right, so here what you want to do is you want to call the insert one function of MongoDB, right? It just creates one record in the database. So inserted, let's take a variable called inserted, and then let's take error, and then call job collection and call the insert one function on it. So insert one, right? So you get insert one, insert many like different type of functions, but insert one is the one that you want. And here you'll say context comma bson.m, and then the actual data, the complete data that you want to send here. So in my case, it's title, right, based on the struct, because I know that that's what I'll be receiving. In the job info, job info is what's coming from the the user, in the sense us when we're interacting with the APIs with GraphQL. And description, you have job info dot description, then you have URL and company. So you'll say URL, so it's job info dot URL, and then company, job info dot company. Put comma here if you want to. Okay. So this is what you're inserting, right? The data which you're getting from job info. Obviously you want to handle this error, so you'll say if error is not equal to nil, log dot fail error. Okay. Now we'll say inserted, which is your variable that you took here, inserted dot inserted ID, primitive dot object ID dot hex. Okay, because you want the inserted ID, and then you obviously want to return job listing. So you'll take this variable, and here you'll say model dot job listing ID is inserted ID comma title job info dot title and company is job info dot company. Wait, I'll just put everything on a different line so that you can see it better. So we're just creating the object that we want to return here. You have company, you have description and the URL. So I'll say description job info dot description, and URL will be job info dot URL. Put a comma for formatting. Okay. Now this needs to be removed because you already are doing all of that in just one line, like declaring and defining it. And that's about it. I think that's about it. So this is it. So this is your create job listing function. Okay. Not only are you creating, inserting that in the database, but you're also returning it. So I think that works very fine. Now we'll work with our update job listing and delete job listing functions. Okay, the first 3 lines are going to be same. So let's copy the first 3 lines to save time, like I said. Come here, save time, paste these 3 lines. We want to create a update job info. Okay, that's empty.
Now you're going to have some checks, right? Because when you're updating job information, you want to have some checks. So you'll say if job info dot title is not equal to nil, this job update job info variable, and the title is job info dot title, right? So if you remember, we are in the GraphQL schema, we said that any of these three things, right, title, description, URL, could be there in the update object. And we have not specifically mentioned there that it has to be non-null value, because we want the user to be update whatever he wants to update, right? In case you're confused here, you can go back to the schema GraphQL and check about what I'm talking about. I'm basically saying that for update, we don't have this exclamation mark here. That means we are saying that any of these values could be there, and none of these values is like non-null. Like he can leave any of these values empty as well, right? And this is why we need a check here, because you know, we don't know which value he's sending. Does he want to update the title? Does he want to update the description or URL? Now, what we're doing is we're trying to make it very easy for the guy who's going to update his values, because he doesn't have to like send all of the values, right? He doesn't have to repeat all of these and then send the new value for the field that he wants to update. Right? So if you want to make it easy for the user, you have to do a lot of work as a programmer. If you want it to be difficult for the user, then you can just be a very lazy programmer and then leave things out. Okay. So this basic, even though I said we won't have validations and we won't have like a lot of you know, code to like, you know, make things complex, because we want to focus more on GraphQL. But still, I mean, this is a very basic level of you know, checks that are still required. So that's why I like this, like, you know, I'm going ahead and doing this. So description, and here you have description. Then you have URL. So here also I need to change it, obviously, description. And here I will change it to URL. Okay. Okay. Just remember, we've still not called the update function in the database, right? So we have still not done that. So, and we won't do that. But before that, we need some filter and all of that. So firstly, I'll work on the ID part of things. So I'll say primitive dot object ID from hex job ID. Then the filter, because I want to send the ID and the filter both. So I'll say bson dot m ID underscore ID and update is equal to. So we're just creating the query here. So in case you've done the e-commerce and the restaurant management apps with me, those projects, you already know what we're doing here. Basically creating the complete query, because update requires two things. It requires the filter in terms of the ID, and requires the update query, which is basically going to have something like this $set. So update job info. And now you'll run that function on job collection, which is find one and update function is what you get from MongoDB. Okay. And here is where you will be passing your context, your filter, your update object, right? All these three things: filter, update object, and the context. And you'll also use the options. So you'll say comma options dot find one and update. I'll just show it to you so that I hope you got it, because I use all these plugins, because, like, you know, my viewers, they want me to use a lot of plugins. So I use a lot of plugins with autocorrect and autocomplete and all of that, but because of that, it sometimes covers up the screen. So I just make sure you get this right, get this right. And let's say .set return document with one in the bracket. Now you have your job listing model. Okay, he'll define this variable which we already defined, and now we'll say if error is equal to results dot decode. So you know about decoding already. It's like serialization, deserialization in Rust, in case you've been following my Rust series. And you know, with Golang, if you've seen all the Golang videos, you already know this. We've done this so many times, and I think I've already explained it to you in this video itself that for Golang to be able to you know, work with JSON data, you need to decode it in terms of the struct that you've defined, right? Which is job listing is a struct that you've defined, and job listing is the variable based on that struct. That's why I said model.jobListing with J is capital here and J is small here. Right, so all of these are like very, very basics. We have gone over them like 100 times already on my channel. So that's why maybe I'm not diving too deep into it. But in case you're getting confused by just very simple Golang syntax, make sure you've seen like most of my projects. There's a playlist for projects for Golang, so make sure you've gone through all of that. Then the last function, delete job listing. Okay. Here again, the first 3 lines are common, so I'll just copy and paste that. Now, the part where you get ID and the part where you create the filter is also common. So I'll get that here. And sorry, I can see an issue here. It's .m. So with your delete job function, so you've copied pasted a lot of stuff from update, right? Okay. Now all you need to do is you need to just call the delete function. So delete one on job collection and pass context and filter. Okay, and like this. Then you handle the error. So you'll say if error is not equal to nil, log dot fatal is error. All right. So that's it. That's the delete function. Now I don't see any issues in the code, but I know there will be many issues when we actually run those APIs. So let's go ahead and actually run this code. So we'll say, let me see if I'm in the root. Yeah, I am. So I'll say go run server.go. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it's working on 8080. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this over here. And let's start. Yeah, so I already have created these queries so that we don't end up like wasting too much time. So here I'm calling this query get all jobs. So let me do one thing. I think I'll put these queries also in the README file. Yeah, because that'll help you, because you don't have to like write all these queries on your own from scratch. Okay. So here you don't need to pass anything in the variables, and yeah, so you're getting all the list of all the jobs. Now let's try creating a job, okay, which I think could be problematic. I think this could lead to an error, because usually you don't get errors in the get all or get by ID APIs. You get a lot of errors in the create or update APIs. Did I say IPs before? Sorry, APIs. I meant APIs. All right. So yeah, so job is getting created. I'm getting this ID back. So let me save this ID for the time being, and let's get data of this particular ID. Okay. So here I'll pass this ID. I'll replace that ID with the new ID that I have. Okay, now let's run it. Okay, so even get by ID is working perfectly fine. Now let's try and update this thing. So update is another area which I mentioned can lead to issues. So here in the variables you'll pass, we're just sending the titles. So remember I said you can pass, if you want you can pass only just one of those, and the other two can be empty, and that's what we're doing now. Just replace that with the ID, Takes the ID out there, run it. Yeah, so it's getting updated to software engineer 3 as well. Now the last thing, which is deleting. Let's see if delete also works. And here we'll pass the ID, which is in my case, this is the ID. Yeah. So this is failing, right? Cannot query field deleted job ID on type delete job response. You mean delete job ID? Yeah. So I think that there's a confusion here: deleted job ID or delete job ID. All right. So we'll fix that now in the delete function somewhere. I'll have to just read it a little bit and see. Okay, it doesn't. It's not. The issue is not here. The issue is in the resolvers, maybe. I remember writing this somewhere, obviously. Okay, it's in the. So in the schema, I have it as delete job ID, right? In the schema. And I think what I'm doing is I'm passing here deleted job ID. So if I said delete job ID, does that work now? Yeah. So that works now. It's working deleted. This data has been deleted now. So just to ensure if the data has been deleted, what we can do is we can get that job by ID. So we'll just pass that again. Here, get job ID. And pass that ID here again. Yeah, I think it's already there. So I'll try running that. Yeah, so it's failed to fetch. That means that ID, the data has been deleted now. Perfect. So that was the only issue, guys. The name here was different and the name here was different. Okay, so it's delete job IDs. Like ideally should be deleted job ID, right? Then it'll make more sense. And yeah, so that's it, guys. Everything is working perfectly fine. And this is basically how you interact with GraphQL in case you've never done that before. So that's another project for you guys to showcase in your portfolio. So it's a great thing because many people message me on LinkedIn or on YouTube. They comment that they got a job by showing one of these projects in their portfolio. So in case you're not doing that and you're looking for a job, get some of these projects in your portfolio and you will get a job. And I'm not talking about like a job, just like a regular job, but a job at a great company like Atlassian or VMware or LinkedIn. So many of the people who follow me on YouTube, they get jobs at great companies because they're able to show great projects, like a diverse portfolio of projects, right? From GraphQL in this case to MongoDB to Postgres. Like you've worked with almost everything with Golang, and almost all of the frameworks also, like Fiber and Gen and Echo recently. And now we'll be covering a little bit about gRPC, and then I think I can start getting into microservices. The thing is, when I started this channel, I started from the perspective, I thought that I'll just build videos on microservices and Kubernetes, like these big projects. But what I realized was the people who were coming to my channel were experienced developers. Like they had a lot of experience, like 7, 8 years, 6 years, 5 years. But with Golang, they were very new, so they didn't want to jump directly into microservices, and they wanted like some smaller projects also to build before you jump into microservices, right? So this is why I built this whole body of projects, and now we'll start getting into the original concept that I have, which is of building microservices. So we'll use GoKit, we'll use Kratos, we'll use our own framework for microservices eventually. I'm not promising anything in the near future, but it'll take a while for us to get there. But we'll take steps. So first, let's look at gRPC in the next couple of weeks. Then let's look at Kafka and how services can interact with each other, like with Golang. And then we'll think about some microservices framework. All right. So do subscribe to this channel in case you haven't subscribed, and share this with your friends who are looking for jobs. Share this complete playlist, right, with those 44, 45 Golang projects with your friends so that they're able to find great jobs. And thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.